Hello everyone, my name is Jason Parker and welcome back to this channel about magic! Today we're doing a reaction video, but before we get into that, I think it's time to have my first post-lockdown quarantine haircut. Are you ready? Take one last look and here we go. Alright, wow, that feels amazing. You know, it's been 2.5 months since I've had a haircut. Alright, so back to the purpose of this video, which is a reaction to a Canadian magician named Shawn Farquhar. This is for his appearance on season 1 of Penn and Teller's Fool Us in 2011. And actually, he has got to be one of the most requested magicians that I should react to in the comments. So today we're finally going to make your dream come true. Oh, and by the way, if you hadn't seen already, I published a tutorial for how to do this easy card move, which is very fun to do. You should check it out for sure. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into Shawn's performance.
Shawn Farquhar.
I'm Shawn Farquhar. I come from a little place called Maple Ridge, British Columbia, Canada. Population about the same as Heathrow Airport. I've been doing magic all my life. My mom says when I was born, the doctor slapped me and I said, pick a card. My father was a magician, my grandfather, my great-grandfather. I'm like the 4th generation without a real job.
Actually, what he just showed right there is a magic effect that Shawn sells called Torn to Pieces. I saw him first perform it on the Ellen DeGeneres show some years ago. Basically, you have a photograph, you tear it into 4 pieces, and you put it back together, but it's like mismatched. The pieces are in the wrong places. And at the end, you can give it away as a souvenir, and they get to keep this impossible object. It's a really cool effect. It's one that he sells online. I actually bought it myself. And you can too.
In 2009, I went into Beijing, China, the World Olympics of Magic. And in front of 3,200 of my peers, I won the World Championship for card magic. It's an amazing title and gives me an opportunity to see the world.
Showtime. Time to have some fun. Can you please welcome the reigning world champion of card magic, Mr. Shawn Farquhar.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. It's a real pleasure to come across the pond to share with you one of my magic tricks. I'm going to do a card trick, but it's a special one, and it's going to use a brand new deck of cards. Penn, would you mind helping me?
I'll try.
Ladies and gentlemen, Penn Gillette, please come and join me. Thank you, sir. I would have picked Teller, but I think the conversation might have been very one-sided. I have a brand new...
I like Teller's face there. No reaction whatsoever. He's like, all right, go ahead, Mr. Comedian. I'm watching your hands.
I have a brand new deck of cards, hermetically sealed. Inside of this deck of cards is the little paper seal. It says the United States Playing Card Company.
Sure does.
It confirms that it's a brand new deck of cards.
And not Canadian.
That's true. Look, not much is. Look, I'm gonna pop it open. Inside a brand new deck of cards, never touched by human hands. Would you cup your hands together like that for me? I'm gonna drop the cards on your hand. Now, I know you know cards, but they don't. I just want to point out that if you look at the brand new deck, there are 2 premium cards here.
Right.
These, they're advertised things. The other end of the deck has 2 jokers. One is like the traditional one, and the other is like a guaranteed joker. We're not going to use those, but we're going to keep the 1 joker in.
Okay.
Can you kind of fan them out so the audience can see what new deck order looks like? You can see it runs ace through king. See the 2 kings in the middle, folks? These are what we call the kissing kings. I call them the broke-back kings.
Also, I guess I've never heard of that Kissing Kings nickname before. Interesting. By the way, another funny thing. In most decks of playing cards, the King of Hearts is referred to as the Suicide King because he is the only one who has a sword going into his head. Fun tidbits. Back to the magic.
Just do me a favor and shuffle up the cards. When you feel they're completely shuffled, let me know.
I believe Percy Diaconis said you have to do 12 shuffles.
Absolutely.
Did he say? But I'll just do 4 or 5. I believe that's okay. We'll give them a cut, and we'll let you see the bottom.
Would you do me a favor? Touch a card on the back. Just kind of plunk your finger. Take a look at it. It's all right if I see it. I've seen this trick before.
Okay.
What card did you get? It's one of my favorites.
I got the 7 of diamonds.
Seriously?
Yes,
You could
I did.
not have picked a more perfect card. Write your name right on the face of the card.
I will.
Perfect. Once the card's been signed, we'll recap.
Okay.
That's the pen.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the joke. If I do a just explaining to everybody else. Would you hold out your hand just flat like that?
I certainly will.
I'll place the cards here. Place your other hand on top, trapping the cards in between.
I will, Ben.
Fully and effectively, and I'll remove 1 card.
Okay.
If I removed your card, would that be impressive?
That would be very impressive.
No, it wouldn't. I got a joker. It's okay. It's okay. How about this? I can do better than that.
Okay.
Well, I think I noticed something that happened already. How about you? In particular, I'm thinking about the Omni deck, a magic trick that I was performing in a street magic video. I'll put a link for that up here if you're interested. Anyways, a similar type of sleight of hand is required there. And you also end up in a similar position with the spectator having everything in their hands, and the magic will soon be experienced basically in their hands. So yeah, just kind of reminded me about that. Oh, and as far as Penn's selection of a card at the beginning, it looked to me to be a completely free selection. Let's keep going.
If I could reach in between your hands and straighten one card up, so it's the opposite direction, and it was your card, the 7 of diamonds, would that be?
That'd be pretty good.
Okay, I can do better. How about this? Would I fool you if I were to put those cards back in new deck order and put the one card reversed?
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Okay,
I'm not going to say you're going to fool me. I won't say that yet.
Good,
but
good,
okay.
good. How about if I took the cards and put them in new deck order, reversed the one card, put them in the cardboard box, put the paper seal and wrapped them up in the plastic?
Oh, that would be a fine trick.
I just did it. Take a look. It's a brand new deck of cards. Because you're the closest, I want you to see. Is there a cut or slit in the top of the box?
There is not.
Cut or slit in the bottom of the box?
Yeah. Not that I can see.
How about the side?
Not that I can see.
The other side?
Not that I can see.
Top or back?
Nope.
It's a brand new deck of cards.
I believe so.
I'm gonna pop this open. Inside, there is a paper seal. It says United States Playing Card Company.
Not Canadian.
Deja vu. Deja vu. Deja vu. Sometimes it takes 4. Look, I'm gonna pop open the paper seal. Inside, a brand new deck of cards, never touched by human hands. Okay, yeah, that's perfect.
I remember
You've
it
seen
from
this
last
part.
time. Yeah.
I want to point something out.
Okay, a couple of things that I want to point out. We saw him for sure inserting Penn's card into this deck or whatever he's holding. So unless I missed something, there has to be some way to slide the card into there. Whether it's a slit or a flap, I don't know. But I noticed that Shawn was handling the deck the entire time. He didn't just hand it over to Penn to open up. And I'm imagining that the way he was showing how it's completely sealed with the cellophane was carefully choreographed to appear very fair, showing all the sides. Also, I kind of noticed that when Shawn's asking him at first if there's any cut or a slit, that at first Penn says there is not. And then he continues to ask him, and Penn starts to qualify his question by saying, not that I can see. Not that I can see. I think Penn's brain is starting to work even while he's appreciating the magic effect, and he's starting to understand that there has to be some way into the box, right? Anyway, just my observations so far.
If you look at the deck, there isn't a premium card on the end. Do you know why?
Why is that?
They're in my pocket, remember? Mm-hmm. Get them out. There's a lot of them. There's the jokers and the premium card. Mm-hmm. All of them are in here. That means that this should be a new deck order deck. Take a look and see if they run ace through king. Oh, maybe you could turn this way so the camera can see.
Someone who was a professional in show business would have done that automatically.
Now, when you get to the diamonds, do you notice one card is reversed?
Between the 8 and the 6 of diamonds
would be where the 7 should be.
Exactly where my selected card should be.
And would you like me to remove it to make it easier for you? I'll just kind of pull it like that lightly and turn it around like that so you can see. It really does have your
Wow, so I mean, that was really cool. The 7 of diamonds was in the exact spot that it should be in the other deck. Because if the card was freely selected, if Penn could have chosen any card, then how in the world did Shawn get it to the exact correct location? I can kind of imagine how he got it into the box like I was talking about earlier, but how would he get it to the right spot and so quickly? By the way, did you happen to notice that little pin that Shawn was wearing on his jacket the entire time? It says which stands for Fetcher's Finger Flicking Frolic. It's a magic conference specifically for close-up magic, and it's invite only, so only the most prestigious and talented magicians are allowed in. The real who's who of Hogwarts. Proceeding.
That was incredible.
Thanks, Johnny.
Okay, so I know you're not going to tell us how you did it, but that was unique. Does anyone else do that?
It's my job.
But then does anyone else? I know, you can't share. But does anyone else do that particular technique?
No, there was not the similar technique. The same effect was a gentleman by the name of George Schindler many years ago, now the Dean of American Magicians. He inspired me, but I came up with a completely different method. And
that will be the key, I guess, this evening to fool those guys. If it's a new
Sure.
method and they haven't seen it before and they can't put their finger on it, we'll get away with it. And by we, I mean you, of course, although I'd like some of the reflected glory.
That's awesome. I'll share.
And is that one of the most technically difficult ones in your routine to do?
It is, in fact, not the most technically difficult, but it's probably the most fun to present because most of it takes place in the spectator's hands. And I think magic that takes place in somebody else's hands is so much more powerful than magic that takes place in our own.
That's what I tell my wife all the time.
That's right.
I'm learning some tricks at home. That's all it is. I think we have given you enough time.
Oh man, Jonathan's so funny, and he gets away with saying anything that he wants to say, right? Anyways, what do you think? Did he fool Penn and Teller? Did he fool you? I mean, he is a world champion of card magic, and he's really famous amongst magicians. You know, he sells magic to other magicians, so probably he did fool them. Let's hear what they've got to say.
Yeah, this is a really, really tough call for us. I think anybody has to know that at some point you had to do a deck switch. Unfortunately, there was a moment when we both saw it, when you were pulling the pen out.
Yes.
And we had all these discussions and meetings about this, which we've talked for hours with the producers about what would constitute fooling us. We said over and over again, if we actually saw a move, it would negate the whole thing. But all that having been said, and the feeling that we saw a move that we should not have seen, we have no idea how you got the goddamn ball into the goddamn that to be honest and fair, I think right out of the deck,
That's incredible.
I should say
Don't take it out on me.
that you absolutely did. On the most important part of the trick, I think you did fool us.
Speaking as someone who just
God
loves to
damn
fool
it!
magic done.
I have no idea how he got there. Son of a gun.
Can I ask you to make us one promise?
What's that?
Never tell them. There you go. Never tell them. Shawn Farquhar, ladies and gentlemen, he fooled them.
Alrighty, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give you my closing thoughts now. Well, that was a really great performance, and a lot of really funny moments as well. You know, I felt like there were a lot of moving pieces in this performance. In fact, Penn talked about there being a deck switch, and actually, as far as what I saw, there were 2 deck switches. Is that what you saw as well? And if I'm correct, the second switch was that so at the end, Penn and Teller could be holding the cards and the box and everything and examine it without any proof of anything. So that just adds another layer to the whole thing. Okay, so as to how he got the 7 of diamonds into the exact right position in those cards, the first thing I think of is something like nested boxes or nested wallets, like the magic concept from that, where a borrowed object ends up in an impossible location. However, that would only help the card get into the box, but not specifically in the right location. This is, of course, all assuming that there was a free selection at the beginning. Actually, let me just go and check that real quick. Okay, so I just went back and reviewed the part where Shawn offers Penn a selection of cards, and it looks completely, 100% like a free selection. But really, the only way that I could imagine performing this effect is if it were not a free selection. You know, perhaps some classic variation of a forceful move. So what can I say? Well, I hate to resort to saying things like camera trickery, but if I had to place a bet, if I actually had to put my money on what I think really happened, I think that somewhere between where Penn was shuffling the cards and he handed them back to Shawn, and when Shawn holds the cards out for Penn to select them, a piece of the video was selectively removed. Now I can already imagine the people racing down to the comments section right now to tell me how Fool Us doesn't allow camera tricks. It's in the rules, don't you know? Yes, I know. But I've also seen them do stuff like this before on the show. And I think they kind of justify it to themselves as being consistent by their specific definition of camera trickery. I guess it's not a camera trick if it happens in the editing room, because you see camera over here, editing room over here. Anyways, from what I am given in this video, from what I can see, that is my best speculation. I could always be completely wrong. So don't hate me for saying that. I'm just sharing with you my honest opinion, okay? And actually, even if there were some edits for TV, it would still be really impressive that Shawn was able to do this kind of force right to Penn's face. This type of force that I'm imagining is actually, it requires a lot of talent to do. And to do it in such a way that Penn had no idea he was being forced a card. I mean, that's some top level wizardry there. So if my assumptions are correct, this to me is the hidden jewel of the performance, the most impressive part. Anyways, I think the entire act was really great, and I especially enjoyed watching Shawn's talent with misdirection. Specifically his timed delivery with his patter and his jokes, you know, when he was saying, okay, he had Penn holding some stuff and he said, now let's recap. And he says this purposely to create confusion, you know, because Penn is holding a pen and he has to recap it, but he also means recap, like let's review. And by kind of forcing those two thoughts into Penn's brain at the same time, he kind of like, it makes his brain busy, which is a perfect form of misdirection. In fact, it's well known amongst magicians that when you need to do some kind of move, you don't want to like turn your back and like you could do anything. You still have to do it in front of the spectator, but oftentimes we will ask the spectator a question because it occupies their mind, and sometimes they even kind of just look up to answer the question, especially if it's mathematical. And during this moment, the spectator is highly misdirected. And I feel like that's what Shawn was doing expertly at certain key moments of his routine. So, really creative and cool effect and well presented by Shawn Farquhar. I mean, obviously, he is a world champion of card magic. What about you? What did you think? Leave a comment in the comment section below. That's where comments go. Was Shawn one of your favorite appearances on Fool Us? Do you think I'm totally wrong with my speculation? You know what to do. And now we come to that time of the video where I will read you an Aesop's fable to possibly glean some pearl of wisdom that we can use in our lives. Or just read a story. I've selected one here for us called The Horse and the Stag. This is chapter 264 for those of you following along at home. Rooney. The Horse and the Stag. There was once a horse who used to graze in a meadow which he had all to himself. But one day a stag came into the meadow and said he had as good a right to feed there as the horse, and moreover chose all the best places for himself. The horse, wishing to be revenged upon his unwelcome visitor, went to a man and asked if he would help him to turn out the stag. Yes, said the man, I will by all means, but I can only do so if you let me put a bridle in your mouth and mount on your back. Seems fair. The horse agreed to this, and the two together very soon turned the stag out of the pasture. But when that was done, the horse found to his dismay that in the man he had got a master for good. No moral of the storyline, we just have to contemplate this one on our own. Okay, well, the first kind of thought that occurs to me is some kind of employment situation, or if you had some company sponsoring you in your artistic endeavors and you no longer really had completely free choice as to how to handle things. But I think more broadly, and in a more useful way, we could interpret this and say that when you ask for help from some person, realize that the help isn't always free. Even if someone is willing to freely help you, maybe they expect something in return. And actually, they probably should, right? I mean, you help people and then they help you back. That's how it works. So there's no such thing as a free lunch, and there's no such thing as free help. And in the worst case, you might end up with a bridle in your mouth and a mount on your back. Have you ever had the situation where you inquired for help from some party or person and then later came to regret it? If so, leave a comment below. Or if you have some other interpretation of this fable, feel free to share that as well. So that is all for the Aesop's Fable story time, and we'll say bye-bye to this book for now. And I want to say thank you for joining me in this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to click like, it really helps. On this channel, I'm publishing things like magician reactions, like this video, magic tutorials, as well as performances of magic, of which I am planning to make more of soon. So if you want to see me performing some magic, make sure to not miss the next videos. Seems reasonable. Anyway, I'm so happy that the quarantine let up a little bit and I was able to go out and get a haircut. I'm probably just going to be touching my scalp the entire day after I turn off the camera. Anyways, I hope that you're having a splendid week. I hope that things are going well, and I will see you next time.